the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the likes.
The Chicago Bears continue to load up as they add 2 more quality coaches to their staff. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, over the last couple of days, Ben Johnson has continued being really busy filling out his coaching staff, and they were kind of quiet for the most part, while other, new coaches are basically done filling out their coaching staff. Ben Johnson remains to be patient and really calculated on the coaches that he's bringing in and adding to his coaching staff. But they added 2 more assistant coaches by hiring, firstly, Kyle DeVan as assistant O-line coach, and also hiring Matt Aponte as the new assistant QB's coach for the Chicago Bears. So let's go ahead and break these 2 moves down and what it means for the Chicago Bears coaching staff. First, Kyle DeVan is only 40 years old, so yet another young coach added to Ben Johnson's coaching staff. He was currently the O-line coach at Oregon State. DeVan worked with Dan Roushar actually in New Orleans in 2015. So that familiarity definitely allowed the Chicago Bears to poach him away at Oregon State and bring him over here with the Chicago Bears. DeVan entered the NFL in 2008 as an undrafted free agent, bounced around a couple of practice squads during his time in the NFL, and then he landed with the Indianapolis Colts in 2009, where he actually started in a Super Bowl. After his brief stint with the Saints, he became the O-line coach at Ball State, where he produced eventual 5th-round pick Danny Pinter. Then he coached at Arizona, where he recruited Jordan Morgan, the Packers' eventual 1st-round pick as well. So a couple of key names that he produced that eventually were drafted in the National Football League. And Bears fans, overall, I really like this move. Not only is he a former player, so could connect with these offensive line players at a different level, he also has extensive experience at both NFL and college levels. Once again, just like I said about Dan Roushar, kind of having extensive experience not only in the NFL level, but college levels as well. DeVan can also help Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles really navigate offensive line talent that's coming into the NFL draft this year and years in the future as well. So I think they're going to use him to their advantage, and also add the familiarity with Dan Roushar as well. I think it's going to be a huge aspect in developing these players into something special here in Chicago. When you think about it, the hiring that makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. Dan Roushar is 64 years old, and Kyle DeVan is 40 years old. So when you're looking at Roushar, that's really not a long-term plan for the Chicago Bears. Let's say 3 years, 4 years go down the road. The offensive line is doing really well. They're producing some high-end, developing some high-end talent here in Chicago to make one of our offensive lines the best in the National Football League. Then let's say Dan Roushar is like, you know what? I'm getting old. It's time to retire. At least you have Kyle DeVan as a backup option just in case that happens. So it's a brilliant move for Ben Johnson to bring in someone that's young as an assistant O-line coach and that has experience at the college level coaching offensive linemen, to have someone young in the rafters waiting for if that scenario actually happens. And another cool aspect about Kyle DeVan is that the last time that Kyle DeVan and Dan Roushar actually worked together in their short stint with the New Orleans Saints, they only allowed 31 sacks and had the #1 passing offense in the National Football League. So once again, not a huge hire, right? But it's a solid hire for an assistant offensive line coach here in Chicago. So really like the move by adding Kyle DeVan as the assistant offensive line coach here in Chicago. Now looking at Matt Aponte, and this is a move that I actually like a little bit more, right? He's only 36 years old and is already considered another rising star in the offensive community. And here's the thing about Ben Johnson. He's shown already that he's not afraid to hire these young coaches. Look at JT Barrett, Declan Doyle, right now, Matt Aponte. They're all very young coaches that are going to be young, focused, ready to grind with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson says that he wanted to hire guys, especially on his offensive staff, guys that are willing to work late nights. Guess what? These young guys are going to be willing to work late nights. And, you know, a lot of these guys are going to be their first opportunity coaching in the National Football League. They're also trying to move up the ranks as well. And that's exactly when I look at Matt Aponte, I think it's a very, very good move. And here's the thing. Just like I mentioned about Kyle DeVan, right? If Dan Roushar happens to retire, you can move him in as the offensive line coach here in Chicago. Same thing goes for Matt Aponte. Let's say JT Barrett, let's say the offense does really well. He's able to get Caleb Williams to the next level, which is the expectation here in Chicago, that Caleb Williams will take a massive jump in year 2. And let's say we're doing this for 2 years in a row where we have a top 5 offense. Caleb Williams is playing really good football, maybe even at an MVP level. There's a good chance that the Chicago Bears are going to start losing coaches here in Chicago. So now Ben Johnson is already kind of preparing for that, because if we lose a guy like JT Barrett, or even if we lose a guy like Declan Doyle, Matt Aponte is a very bright, young offensive mind that has kind of some experience of knowing how to, develop a quarterback like Caleb Williams. Once again, when you look at Aponte, he currently worked as the OC at San Diego State. He will now be the Bears' assistant quarterbacks coach under JT Barrett. He held the same position as quarterbacks coach at Iowa in 2019 and 2020. In 2 years as OC at San Diego State, he put up some pretty great numbers as OC. His offensive unit ranked second among PFL programs in total yards per game, averaging 365 yards per game. 14 of his offensive players earned all conference nods in 2 years as OC at San Diego State. Once again, Ben Johnson was really calculated with this move because Aponte knows exactly the type of quarterback Caleb Williams is. When you look at the type of offense that Matt Aponte was running at San Diego State, it's the same offense that Caleb Williams is running, and what made him such a star at USC, and it's that shotgun oriented with an aggressive down the field attack. Very, very similar. He knows exactly what, the type of quarterback Caleb Williams is, and I think Aponte can play a huge role in helping Ben Johnson craft the perfect offense for Caleb Williams. Remember, Ben Johnson made it very clear that what you saw in Detroit, it's going to be totally different here in Chicago. And the reason for that is, Bears fans, is because Jared Goff and Caleb Williams are 2 different quarterbacks. Ben Johnson made it very clear that this offense is going to be broken down to the studs, and we're going to make sure we're doing stuff that makes Caleb Williams feel comfortable, and things that Caleb Williams doesn't like is not going to be in the offense. So that's where I feel Matt Aponte, that this is a underlining really, really good hiring by Ben Johnson, because he has experience of running that offense at San Diego State, an offense that Caleb Williams really enjoyed and once again made him a star at USC. So I think, once again, having that young, bright offensive mind willing to work late nights for Ben Johnson and really help craft the perfect offense, and just having yet another bright offensive mind working with Caleb Williams as well as assistant quarterbacks coach, is going to benefit Caleb Williams down the road. So once again, Bears fans, two great hires in my personal opinion as assistant coaches. And I always like the idea of, for example, when you have an offensive line coach and OC at the college level, and now they're basically taking somewhat of a demotion to be assistants, right? Assistant O-line coach and assistant quarterbacks coach here in Chicago. So Ben Johnson continues to work hard at putting his staff together. Already have some incredible coaches. I love the mixture of youth and also experience on the coaching staff. And I think it's all going to blend very, very well here in Chicago. So Bears fans, how do you like the moves of both Kyle DeVan as the new assistant O-line coach here in Chicago and Matt Aponte as the new assistant quarterbacks coach here in Chicago? Let me know down below in the comment section. I also want to ask you guys, before I end today's episode of Keek on the Mic, what is your confidence level going into, this offseason and basically this new season for the Chicago Bears? And also let me know, what would your ideal perfect offseason be for the Chicago Bears? Is it, going heavy offensive line in free agency, or heavy defensive line in free agency, or is it something else, right? Let me know if you were in Ryan Poles' shoes, and comment down below. I'd love to engage with you and interact with you guys in the comment section. Let me know your ideal offseason for the Chicago Bears. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic.